Hey guys, Chris of the Polish Geek, and welcome to a review of a long-promised Hogwarts Legacy. I've been promising you guys I would do this review, and finally here we are. And yes, I was actually promising this, I was going to post this review on the game's first anniversary on February 10th, but I've beaten it like a month ago already at least, so I decided, why wait? So why not just get this review out for you now? So here we are. Really, this is the review that really you'd have to own a PS5 to get this review out, because I was waiting for a PS4 release, which as a result, first I got distracted by Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, then Baldur's Gate 3, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Resident Evil 4, and finally Lies of P. And only later I was finally able to play this game. And speaking of Resident Evil 4 that I've been talking about, yes, I've beaten the original Resident Evil 4 now too, and I'm totally doing a review where I do a comparison between the Resident Evil 4, the remake, and the original. So stay tuned for that, because this is going to be awesome. But returning to Hogwarts Legacy, because of all those distractions, it really took me time to play it, but as I said, I finally beat it a month ago, and I'm really excited now finally I have this review, because the game is awesome. But before we start talking about Hogwarts Legacy, I will say that I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I think I've been talking about this for quite a time already on this channel, but yes, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I love the movies, I love the books even more. I've been reading the books again last year, and yeah, they're so much better than the movies. They're just masterpieces of writing, and they're so much more detailed than the movies. I love the books. I love the movies too, but I just love the books more because they're just so much more detailed than the movies, and they're some of my favorite books of all time. And I still think that the harassment J.K. Rowling is getting for having opinions that don't align with the mainstream narrative are getting out of hand. I mean, like, you don't have to agree with her opinions, but why harass her for that? Well, whatever, that's the type of crazy world, modern world we live in, whatever. But let's finally talk about Hogwarts Legacy, because the game is great and this is by far the best Wizarding World game I ever played. Hogwarts Legacy is an ultimate Harry Potter game, or Wizarding World game, whatever you wanna call it. You get assigned to one of the 4 houses, and I was assigned to Gryffindor, and that's admittedly where I wish I belonged if I was in Hogwarts. And there were many Harry Potter games in the past. I remember how when I was a kid, I would actually get all the Harry Potter games anytime a new movie was released. And I think the older ones were better, like Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban, or Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone, whatever. Yeah, the first 3 were the best. They were pretty fun, Zelda-style games. Goblet of Fire and Half-Blood Prince were, on the other hand, way too linear and too plain, and didn't even play Deathly Hallows at this point, since at this point it was when I really stopped playing video games based on movies. But Hogwarts Legacy is better than all of those games. Not only it is telling an original story in the Wizarding World, but it's so much more massive and there is so much more to do. The story of the game is very interesting. I won't say it's one of the best video game stories out there. There have been plenty of video games with like really masterful stories, and I still think original Harry Potter books are still the best stories in the Wizarding World universe, but still, it was cool enough to keep me play and have a really great time while playing it. I really love the characters, of course, because this takes place like at least 100 years or even more than that before the movies. The characters are all entirely new, and they are really interesting. So, while the main story was interesting, it was also hard not to get distracted by many side quests you could get while talking to other students. I remember that's how I played Skyrim, The Witcher 3, Baldur's Gate 3, and Hogwarts Legacy 2. I would often leave the main story for much later and instead just focus on the huge quantity of side quests that I got. What I really like about the story is that it's very similar in structure to a classic Harry Potter story, in that First part of the story is focusing on your life as a student at Hogwarts and learning various different spells, riding a broom, attending classes, talking to your professors, or just hanging out with friends and doing various favors for them. Later, you start examining a goblin conspiracy that involves dark magic, and stuff gets really interesting. And the two main villains, Goblin Ranrock and Dark Wizard Victor Rockwood, are both really cool villains. I won't spoil the rest of the story though, even though I'm already very late with that review already anyway. But the big downside of the story is that it is pretty short actually. And if you're just doing a story and nothing else, you will probably finish the game in like 2 days only, literally. And that is also partially why I love doing side quests so much. It really prolongs my life at Hogwarts in the game, and as I've been saying, exploring is just so fun. Overall, story of the game is very good, but I do feel its pace is a little too fast. I do wish we got a little more time as regular student at Hogwarts. But still, very interesting story overall anyway.
It's like we found the entrance.
The open world of the game is certainly not the most massive open world like Skyrim or The Witcher 3, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Red Dead Redemption 2, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom all have much more massive and overwhelming open world. But not Hogwarts Legacy, and it works! The game mostly revolves around Hogwarts grounds and village of Hogsmeade right next to Hogwarts. And I think it's as big as it really needs to be. The way Hogwarts Castle and village of Hogsmeade are both recreated is simply phenomenal. While they clearly took inspiration from the movies, it totally feels far closer to the books. Hogwarts Castle is really awesome to explore, and between quests you can roam and go off and wander around various corridors, uncover various secrets of the castle, and complete side quests for other students that ask for your help. These areas will immediately be recognizable to anyone who has seen the movies or read the books. Whether it to be individual classrooms or the dorm rooms, it's obvious how the developers love the movies and the books and clearly made areas familiar to both movie-only fans and book fans. The areas are very recognizable if you've seen the movies, but if you read the books, you realize that they are actually somewhat closer to their book descriptions. And you can go beyond Hogwarts grounds too. You can go to Forbidden Forest and, as I've been saying, visit Hogsmeade and visit some really cool places in Hogsmeade like Honeydukes, which I admit, if I was there, I would be obsessed with it. I love sweets so much. Another thing in the game that I really love is flying on the broom. I just love going up in the air and seeing whole Hogwarts Castle as well as the many beautiful landscapes that surround it. And even this giant squid from the books makes a cool cameo. I really love that. It is a little bit shame though that you can't use those flying on a broom skills later to play Quidditch, but we'll get to that later. Now I will also talk about how much I love learning various different spells. And you can learn various different spells from books and movies. My favorite one is Expelliarmus. But there is also Accio, the spell that pulls things to you, and there is Wingardium Leviosa, which lifts things up in the air. And the way you learn those spells is actually pretty reminiscent of the way you were learning them in the old Harry Potter video games that I mentioned. It is a little bit nostalgic because of that. And the spell combat is pretty simple. If you fight an enemy, you can just press a button and your character will just shoot random projectiles from a wand. But you can also press a button of a particular spell and that might actually take more of enemy's health. Like, look here, for example.
Expelliarmus.
I especially love using Expelliarmus spell, and just like in the movies, that spell will disarm the enemy. And I know you can even learn an unforgivable curse Avada Kedavra, but I sadly didn't get the chance to learn it, but maybe on my next playthrough.
Nice blood. How's it feel? It's a tad hot.
The game isn't perfect though. One of my problems with the game is actually the spell system. You can only pick 4 spells into a slot, and then you can use one of those 4 spells. And if you need to use a different spell, then you need to pause and change a spell into one of the 4 slots. And this can get a little frustrating and tiring. I think there should be a way to quicker change the spell in the slots. Plus, and this is kind of a nitpick, but I want to mention it anyway, original books and movies, and even the game itself, always made it clear that students aren't allowed to wander Hogwarts past curfew. Yet, it is totally possible for you to do it here in this game during the gameplay. You can just wander Hogwarts and even Hogwarts grounds, and even abandon Hogwarts grounds without getting into trouble. While I understand this was done very much for gameplay purposes, I sadly have to nitpick it. Still, this is really minor in the grand scheme of things. Also, I wish there was an option to learn a Patronus charm and fight Dementors. Admittedly, Dementors aren't even in the game outside of one visit to Azkaban that I didn't get a chance, since I heard you need to be in Hufflepuff to get that quest. But if there was ever another Harry Potter game, I do really wish things get expanded, and hopefully it will be possible to learn a Patronus charm and fight Dementors. And another thing, and that is something that thankfully does have an in-universe explanation, and this is something I'm sure most fans weren't happy about, but there is no way to play Quidditch. In fact, when your character gets sorted into his or her house, Headmaster makes it very clear that this year there is not going to be a Quidditch match. While I'm glad they chose to give an in-universe explanation for a lack of option to play Quidditch, I wonder why did they choose not to put it in the game. The game is so massive, I don't think it would be hard to put Quidditch match into a game as a minigame, especially that was a minigame in the much smaller Harry Potter games from the past. Especially that I also been saying, you do actually ride a broom in this game. Whatever, that's minor in the grand scheme of things, because either way, the game is amazing. But it would be pretty cool to use your flying broom skills to play a Quidditch match. Overall, Hogwarts Legacy is by far the best Wizarding World game ever, and it truly honors the spirits of the book, and I really love the game. It has a really interesting story, really great characters, amazing open world, and I just love exploring the Hogwarts grounds and all. As you're playing this game, you truly feel that this is the Harry Potter world that you know and love, because the Fantastic Beasts movies, well, I don't hate them as much as some people seem to, but objectively, I can't say I quite felt like I was returning to Harry Potter world as I was watching them, but this game, I very much do. Hogwarts Legacy, and also when I'm playing I truly feel like I'm a wizard. Hogwarts Legacy, great game, and if you're a Harry Potter fan and don't have problem with an author having different opinions than you, then you totally should play this game, because it's a really great time. And next video game review, as I've already been saying, Resident Evil 4, and both a remake and the original. So stay tuned for that review, because that one I'm really excited to review for you people. So, thank you ladies and gentlemen for checking out this video, press the like button, please subscribe this channel, and I will talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you later, bye!